other team and your team's not in it, unfortunately, for the opposite, polar opposite, welcome to the Root Dog. And I'm talking about the soul, and of course, talking the NFL here on the Root Dog Show today, this afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. And more importantly, when we look at people, we look at guys, we look at players, we look at a variety of guys that are out there trying to make an impact, not only on a professional level, it really starts at the collegiate level. Welcome my next guest, Joe Kupcikevicius. I don't know where that comes from. I don't even know if I said it right. Welcome to the show, Joe. How are you?
Hello, Rudy. Thanks for having me.
Ed, that's about as close as I can get. So thanks for clarifying that. And it's fun, man. Thanks for coming on to the show. Look, Houston Pacific City, and for those people that don't know, it is a very good college. And with it being a very good college comes very good scouts. And a lot of those enter from the Steelers, the Cowboys, amongst many other teams, especially those that are in need of an offensive tackle such as yourself. Let's kind of start at the beginning here. You're born and raised not here in California, in Oak Lawn, Illinois. You had other siblings, but you grew up a Bears fan. You wanted to play football, but more importantly, when you registered at South Dakota State in 2013, that wasn't the end-all for you. Explain to us what it took to adapt from where you had grown up and knowing and having friends, everybody's from there, to an environment where you knew basically, well, nobody. How did that happen, and how were you able to adapt?
Yeah, that's something I've been pretty good at my entire life. Been able to adapt to my environment. I make friends easily and kind of do what I need to do. Really take initiative in a lot of things. So that was really no problem for me ever. Transferring from, I've been to 3 different colleges now, so it's never been a problem to make friends and make an impact on the team.
So you're a likable guy then. So somebody would come up to you and put their hand out and say, well, Polish, please. Something like that. Well, that's good. That's good to know. And I'm sure NFL teams would love to know of the generosity. They do a lot of great work with a lot of players, donating their money and their time to charities of their choices. And I think you'd be a great fit in there as well. So you grew up a Bears fan. You wanted to play football, and it wasn't until your freshman year in high school where you decided to play. When
that was the thing, T-ball, there's always a weight limit. I was always above that weight limit, and it was really hard for me to make the team. So it wasn't until freshman year in high school where all that didn't matter. Just my height, I was always bigger than everyone, so that had to do with a lot of the weight issues. But once it was high school, I got the green light to just weigh whatever I want and be down it.
Well, that's exactly what you did. You were oversized from the onset, but really didn't take into account or into shape until, and my son's 14. He wanted to play football. He decided to track, and of course, he was too short. He wanted to play basketball. He was too short. We went through a growing spurt, which is exactly what happened to you. And then you ended up graduating in 2013 from Richards High School, and then after your senior year, you were given an opportunity to play at South Dakota State University. What was that like, being there and being given the opportunity to play?
Well, yeah, at the time I was a redshirt, so it was kind of that issue where you're not as bought into the team per se as you would be as a starter or even a guy that might have a chance to go in the game. So, even as I got older, as a senior, I'm seeing these redshirt guys coming in, and there's all, So it was fun. I made a lot of good friends there. Enjoyed my time, being on the scout team and just be part of the team.
Well, being part of a team and being a team player can be two very different things. You could be on a team, you could be on a roster, but not be a participant. But when you redshirted your first year after transferring to Mount Sac, or as most people know it as Mount Sac, it's Mount San Antonio College in LA, in Walnut, a family all over Southern California. I'm a native, so I kind of get that. But when you transferred over to Mount Sac, you played your 2014, 2015 season, it seemed to kind of prosper for you. You were able to really find your own, and ultimately rivals coming out of JUCO, rivals ranked you number 5. That had to have been a pretty nice feather in your hat, so to speak, because you came from a JUCO system where everybody knows this. Anybody who's in the collegiate system, look, NFL coaches, if you're listening, make sure you listen to this interview. It's very important because, as you know, JUCO players don't predominantly have a dominant presence headed into any Division II, Division I system. What was it about being ranked number 5? Did you feel as though there was still a chip on your shoulder that this was just a segue into what's to come?
Well, yeah, too much to me. I just wanted to give myself an opportunity to play at the next level, and I knew that fit myself into a starting spot at wherever I decided to go. It's an honor and stuff to be ranked that high, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to playing football and being a dominant offensive lineman. That's what's important to me.
Here, protecting the quarterback is also probably one of the most important aspects to any offensive lineman's responsibility. As a matter of fact, Alan Faneca, Steelers offensive lineman, entered the 2018 Hall of Fame list. Finalists, I don't know if he'll get in. I hope he does. Certainly one of the best to go with a whole other set of a long line of Steelers offensive linemen specifically who are in the Hall of Fame. We're not talking defense. We're talking offense here today on the Rude Dog Show with Joe Kup. He likes to go and shorten his name. And that's perfectly okay with me. I have no issue because I couldn't say your last name 10 times fast if somebody paid me. So, Joe Kup here, you decided to go to Azusa Pacific University, known as GPA, and that you were recruited by somebody everybody else should know, and of course anybody in the football world knows who this guy is, Hall of Famer Jackie Slater. On that O-line, obviously that was a big deciding reason to want to be a part of that, because Jackie Slater was certainly a part of that system. But what was it about? I mean, we were talking offline how good it was to be there, and it was something you eventually just made up your mind about because Jackie Slater decided to pull you in, put you under his wings, and teach you. But was that the ultimate decision maker? Did that determine the outcome for you to even attend Azusa Pacific University, or was there other reasons beside that?
Well, I mean, it was an okay time, but on that final day, I met Jackie Slater, and there was really just that persona about him, and he has an intense, way of talking, and just talking football with this man for about 10 minutes. Maybe even more, 10 minutes, I knew off the bat this is the guy that's going to make me better. And this ultimately, my goal was to be the best offensive lineman that I could be. And I knew that ACU was no doubt one of the places where, with Jackie Slater being my coach, that's huge. And I think in the long run, that's going to pay off.
Absolutely right. A name like that, and you can put that on a resume and say, Jackie Slater helped coach me. That's kind of it kind of surmises it altogether. It really kind of puts everything into perspective. So let's kind of move and fast forward through this. You did a fantastic job, 2-time GNAC All-Conference honors, a 4-year starter at the right tackle position. There were a ton of scouts that had approached you, a ton of scouts that were there watching your the Tropical All-Star game in Daytona Beach, Florida. Of course, who doesn't want to go to Florida? And, of course, if for nothing else, watch football, right? You had a Tropical All-Star game. You had the Senior Bowl. You have all these great events. Of course, I was at the NFLPA Bowl at the Rose Bowl, which I'm sure you probably have heard of and know of very well. It's not too far away from where I'm at here in Orange County. But seeing a lot of great talent there. Scouts were on hand there as well. But what was it about the reasoning and the logic behind scouts approaching you? Was it your grit, your stamina? Was it about footwork, handwork? What was it about you that made them want to approach you, in your opinion?
Well, yeah, one thing with the scouts is it's more of being a personal conversation with them. That's one thing that I really learned. Just kind of talking to them, just, let them know everything about yourself. It's kind of just like a job interview. Just try to make the most of that opportunity.
Well, that's really what it's about, is the opportunity, being able to shine not only to scouts, but to really show what you are made of. I'll be honest with you, there's not a ton of Azusa Pacific University guys who are in the NFL. But to change that mindset, to change and shift over to being able to have your name called on draft day, is that something you're looking forward to? And if so, who would you like to be called by?
Obviously, anywhere would be great. I mean, free agents just come down to how I perform in games and ultimately how well I play. That's kind of what it comes down to. So, I mean, it'd be an honor to get drafted, obviously, and even just to get signed as a free agent, but my goal is to just go out there and play for dominant football.
Absolutely. We both know somebody in common who you've currently been training with right now, in Justin Magallanes, who does great things with creating monsters out in San Dimas, Southern California here. And you have a pro day coming up in March. So what are you doing specifically to prepare for that game? And how has Justin been such a solid partner in helping make sure that you're able to maximize your skill set and maybe uncover some weaknesses as well?
You're doing a great job training me, and you've really had an impact so far. I mean, I've never really trained block training, obviously, but just more focused work and all this recovery stuff, stretching, just cryotherapy, all that stuff is really beneficial, and I can already feel the results in my body. Already making personal records and my numbers, and just kind of feeling at top shape right now. So good to keep that going.
You got to keep rolling. Absolutely. You just can't stop. You have to keep pushing and grinding and moving forward. And eventually somebody is going to take witness of that. They're going to take charge of the fact that you've been so dominant on both sides of the ball. There was a scouting report I had a chance to review prior to the show, and there were some good possible outcomes for you as far as maybe being an undrafted free agent, which I hope necessarily isn't the case, but it's certainly a priority. So I think priority undrafted free agent comes to mind when we're talking about your positioning in the 2018 NFL draft. You had control in the B gap against rushers in 4-3-3-4, so you're able to really adjust that and modify in either defense, which is absolutely fantastic. Of course, with those rip moves, every single linebacker has their specialty move. Being able to diversify how you handle those, I think, is the biggest asset for you moving forward. And then on top of that, your athleticism, getting better, becoming more limber off the line, which has been probably one of the biggest critiques, at least from what I've seen in regards to foot movement off the snap, being able to shift to the right, being able to provide that run blocking capability, not necessarily aggressive for you. What are you doing to change that to be more of an aggressive run blocker and trying to create those gaps for running backs?
Well, yeah, at some point it comes down to my athletic limitations, but right now we're training a lot of hip mobility and getting a lot of flexibility, just becoming a better athlete. I think that's going to help definitely the most when it comes to run blocking, pass blocking, changing direction, all that.
Well, I think it's a big deal moving forward for you. You're able to make those corrections, and certainly with that senior day, or excuse me, the ability for you to really put on a pro day shine, March 20th. Everybody should go check out Joe. I had a chance to watch video on you, man. You definitely are. You're a big guy, and most big men at some point will have an issue getting off of the line, being more aggressive in making sure that linebacker, and what really comes to mind is Alejandro Villanueva of the Steelers, who came in out of Army looking for an opportunity to start on an offensive line. Had a rough going initially. Have you had a chance to watch his game?
Yeah, yeah. I've been watching, but not today. I mean, he's Pro Bowl tackle, so I mean, now he's obviously shining.
He's shining because he recognizes, and with the Hall of Fame coach and Mike Munchak's been able to really help him kind of, understand the role, the handwork, the footwork, the body work, being able to, keep those linebackers from penetrating the line, getting to Ben Roethlisberger, something that you're certainly going to face are 350-pound, linebackers, 290, 280. These guys, they're going to come in all shapes and sizes and all forms. Are you ready to take that next step? And do you think an NFL team will call your name on draft day and not just being an undrafted free agent?
Well, I know definitely a coach will play that. That's something that I really pride myself on. Just having a lot of stuff. Just kind of thinking out the game, hand usage, all that stuff, anticipating how it is. So I think my focus is great. Shouldn't be an issue. And I think that NFL team would actually have a great player in me if they decided to pick me.
Well, you know what? It's all about being not just a face in the crowd, but being a voice in the crowd as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Joe Kupcikevicius here on the Rude Dog Show. Gosh, I maybe one day I'll get that last name down pat, Joe. Right now, I'll just call you Joe Cup. So everybody, go check out Big Joe on draft day. Offensive tackle at Azusa Pacific University. Hey, man, thanks, Joe, for coming on. We'll talk soon. Sure, not a problem. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know.
I appreciate that.
No problem. Thanks, man. Take care. Yeah, that was Joe Kupcikevicius. Look, as many times as I've tried to say that, I don't know that I can really say that right the first time around. I'm certainly going to make a point to try it again, maybe at some other point. But it's always great to talk to these guys because you really get the understanding that they want to be at the next level. They are doing everything remotely possible to get to the next level. And if that means receiving critique as to footwork, handwork, everything associated with becoming a better player, and not only a better player, and I think that could be remissed because when we look at the type of athleticism that's out there, what comes with that is the mentality, is the ability to fight through adversities, to fight through the types of situations that would otherwise prevent them from being at the school of their choice and unfortunately having to drop down in order to get to another school, maybe not in the D1 circuit, maybe not in the D2 circuit, but certainly the ability to play in the NFL is probably the biggest thing, if not the only thing, that these young players have on their minds. And, of course, we're waiting on Devron Davis in 2018 NFL draftee, another JUCO, probably just like JUCO Saturday. Okay, maybe it doesn't fit all, but he's certainly going to call in cornerback out of University of Texas, San Antonio. He's a cornerback who has been around for a little while here. Again, another champion player, and it just seems that a lot of this fantastic talent with eyes certainly looking at him in a situation where he's fighting for a bid to get into the NFL. But more importantly, when I look at guys who are JUCO products, who are trying to make a name for themselves, Joe Kupcikevicius comes to mind, Devron Davis comes to mind, and more importantly, it's about the capabilities of being a solid player, being able to contribute to your system. This guy, he's got long hands. He protrudes immensely. He's 6 foot, 210. The guy's absolutely amazing. But more importantly, he gets underneath receivers. He recognizes low ball throws, positions himself accordingly, and it doesn't hurt that he's related to Vernon and Vontae Davis. We're certainly going to talk about that as soon as Devron calls into the show. But, look, when I think about draftees, when I think about guys trying to get to the next level, this is a reoccurring theme here on the Rude Dog Show. I've been doing this for 4 years, interviewed tons of players. And when I look at guys like Devron, I think to myself, man, these guys are underdogs. Do they, and the reality is do they even have a chance? Does anybody even look at them? Do scouts really take a hardcore stance and say, you know what, maybe they're going to be a solid addition to this system? But moreover, it takes a certain tenacity, it takes a certain attitude, personality to really diagnose who these guys are. And it gets deeper than just tackles for loss, touchdowns, interception returns. It goes beyond all that. And we can always look back and say, you know what? Maybe these guys are who they really, truly need to be. And we'll show who they are on a larger platform. Welcome to the Rude Dog Show. I have my next guest here. And look, today's draft day. Okay, well, no, not really. But if it was, you'd find my next guest on it. Welcome, Devron Davis, 6'2", 210 quarterback at a University of Texas, San Antonio. Devron, welcome to the show. I guess we're kind of missing here. Can't quite hear you. You may have to call in again, Devron, because I just can't hear you. We're going to try this again. Devron, let's try it again. Devron, if you're on a headset, you might want to take it off and just talk to the phone. Are you there? Devron, are you with me? I hate to have to hold the phone here. Devron, are you there? I guess Devron's going to have to call back because I cannot hear him. Anyway, so guys like Devron Davis, and of course there was a Bleacher Report. You may have seen it. I tweeted out earlier, Devron Davis is the kind of guy that you're really looking at to make a difference here. Welcome, Devron.
Hey.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for coming on the show. How is everything?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's not a problem. Thanks for coming on to the show. Devron, you're another JUCO product. The last gentleman I spoke to, we're talking offense and defense today. You happen to be the defensive side of the ball. You're a JUCO product. And when I looked at your film, it's very, very, very impressive. And when I say impressive, I don't mean that lightly. I mean impressive to a point where you were underneath receivers. I looked at it. Find him on YouTube as well. If you're really interested in knowing who Devron is, look at him. You helped the Roadrunners in a variety of ways, including this season alone with 2 interceptions, 25 tackles, and 4.5 of those were for loss. And lastly, you had 6 pass breakups. You know, it doesn't hurt that you're the cousin of Vernon and Vontae Davis, but that's not all there is to you. I mean, I'll be honest, it's a very interesting family affair. But more importantly, you're going to join them to have potentially an equally solid career as they have had in the NFL. So when in the last, let's just say 72 hours, just as an example, you've had conversations and second meetings with the Rams, the Dolphins, the Vikings, Ravens, and Patriots. And, of course, you and the Rams definitely had something to talk about more than probably any other. What was that conversation like, and did you feel that the attention was a little much at that point?
No, Rams real heavy. I did fit that scheme really well. Being that I could play nickel, I could play safety and play corner. Just all the different attributes. Wade Phillips like flexible guys that can do multiple things, and I just was a guy that could play corner, could play nickel, could play safety, and do those little things. That's very flexible. Those are the kind of things Wade likes. That's why it's so heavy on just the little things that I could do a lot better than other guys from a ball skill standpoint, just from a physical standpoint, coming down, making tackles, and not afraid to be in run support. So those things really help. And as far as from their standpoint, I'm just a perfect scheme fit from what I've seen and what I've heard from them.
Well, when I look at teams that, the Eagles, the Jets, the Packers, the Cardinals, 49ers, you have a lot of teams that are really looking at you, and it doesn't help that you're a former running back. And so that kind of leads me to the obvious question is, why'd you switch from one side of the ball to the other? I mean, you had the ability to run through gaps. You're shifty. You had line-breaking strength on one side of the ball, and then you decided to switch to be the aggressor to stop runners dead in their tracks. I mean, what do you attribute to wanting to change sides And was it something you believed you would thrive in?
It was a lot of different things. I think with my cousin Steven Nelson and Devron playing corner, I seen the things he did, the competition, and just everything, all of the above, the playing corner, that confidence, that grittiness, the toughness. As you got to play the position, it's a lot of different things that intrigue me, and I felt like I could make the transition smoothly, being that my whole family pretty much played the position. I was very natural at it. I only been playing the position for 4 years, so I'm still a little raw, but just the natural instincts and technique that I picked up from being so young at the position, it was effortless. Obviously I still got to get coached up a little bit more in some areas, but I feel like my game is very good transition. So.
I do as well. I've seen how you're able to really fluidly move underneath receivers to disrupt them, and then your timing is impeccable. Arm reach to break up plays, to really disable wide receivers getting the footing that they need to put their hands and eyes on it simultaneously. And that's really hard to do when you have an interference with somebody's through that pass. Because your family members have played at Vontae, I mean, it just appears as though your natural position would be on the defensive side. But even though they were so good at those positions, what was the ultimate decider for you to switch from being a running back to a cornerback?
Well, I think I really got a position on back. That's why I still did punt returns, kick returns, things like that, and still, contributing and carrying the ball. But it was just about playing defense. Like that, play the position so effortlessly and with so much confidence and so much swagger. Everybody says playing corner is the hardest position. That was another thing that I thrived on. I always wanted to be in a spot where people felt like it's hard. And for me, it was effortless. Just from my standpoint, just when I was in man coverage, I never gave up on that corner. I never did any of those things. So for me, it was so effortless and so easy, the transition. And just to see my cousins do it before me also helped. They definitely taught me things, still teaching me to this day. And it's always room for improvement.
Always room for improvement. That is a key word. I think a lot of players, at least the ones that I've spoken to hundreds of them, a lot of them tend to remember where they came from and how they were able to get to the point that they were at right then and there. But more important is what they can do to get better, to become, whether it's footwork, whether it's speed, whether it's studying and going into Pilates, or whether it's a lot of water work, or if it's strength or running with a parachute. I mean, there's so many variety of ways. You had a chance to work with the Cardinals' Patrick Peterson in the offseason. How did that come about, and what did you gain from that experience overall that you believe will certainly help you with hand and footwork moving forward?
Patrick's a great guy, man. It actually started with Rod Hood. Rod Hood played in Tennessee with Lavelle Hawkins, who's from the Stockton area, and since I was a little kid, he kind of hooked me up with Rod Hood. Rod Hood is a mentor for Patrick right now, just helping him with, footwork and offhand engagement and just eye discipline and things like that. So with those guys, with Patrick's dad, also very good speed coach, and just being around so much knowledge and soaking up the game also helped me become a better player. So
helping you get to the next level is really what it's about. Understanding the nuances of what hand-eye coordination really truly is, and how to work on that, and how to find that. A lot of terms in the NFL, we talk about shut down corners, and Darrelle Revis was certainly one of them at one time. Not himself in that capacity anymore, but at a time he was on an island all on his own, and that was Revis Island. when you look at guys who have done it for so many years, even if you played safety in the nickel, you must have seen guys like Troy Polamalu, pick balls up that nearly come within millimeters of touching the ground. Do you think that type of handwork is something that you learned from Patrick? And if so, do you think it's going to entice coaches, scouts to really endear you and pull you, even go further than that, to be picked by the Rams in the 2018 NFL Draft?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of teams see a lot of potential. A guy that can find, get in a system and thrive. So those things always help. You always get guys that you feel like you can make better or make them a better player. So just the little things, just refining my game in their scheme. I can do everything. I can play zone. I can play man. I can go on the nickel and do anything you really ask me to do. So I'm just a scheme fit anywhere. Fit in.
You seem
well.
Exactly, and you seem very diverse. Being able to do a variety of things, it just makes you much more sought after. And I believe ultimately a lot of teams in the NFL predominantly will look for guys who are so diverse that they can play multiple positions on the defensive side of the ball. Malcolm Jenkins reminds me of just that, looking at your play, looking at you in the nickel, looking at you in the 3-4 or the 4-3 or in a safety position or a corner position. You just seem like a Malcolm Jenkins-esque kind of guy in the sense that he's played every position on the field. He's played the safety, he's been in the nickel, he's been in the corner. Do you think that you would probably say, or maybe put yourself in a conversation, that you are or would be like Malcolm Jenkins in that sense only, that you're diverse enough to be playing in any defensive position?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the All-Star game, I played nickels. I played nickel. I had interceptions in the nickel. I did a lot of different things. Show my versatility throughout the All-Star game, and I showed it on film as well. I played safety on film. Went in the nickel a couple times. So I always showed throughout my career playing that I can do so many different things. From going from running back to receiver to quarterback in high school to in junior college playing corner to kick returner and punt returner. So I done showed my versatility and that I can adjust to doing anything, and that's what you need, guys that can do that.
And that's exactly right. All teams in the NFL could utilize a guy such as you to really bring it on. Now, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Devron Davis is a JUCO guy. And when I say JUCO, people are thinking, what is JUCO? JUCO is the step right above NAIA, and they share a lot of parallels. Devron, you've had a lot of JUCO-type experience, and I think that's brought out some of the ferocity that you see on the field. Everybody who watches Devron Davis' film, you're going to see the ferocity, you're going to see the fire, you're going to see the footwork, the handwork, the hand-eye work to be the ultimate disruptor in the secondary. And I think that's one of the reasons why everybody's able to see that on the field. Has JUCO really put a chip on your shoulder to play the way that you have in your current experience?
Yeah, JUCO definitely did that. It forces you to become a man. It was times, I'm in California JUCO, so we had no meal plan. Sometimes you starve and you're eating noodles, or it just shows it shows you how much you really love the game of football and what you're really willing to sacrifice to keep playing. It was times that you were starving, it was times that you didn't have much. So it's a lot of different things that contributes to that. So yeah, it definitely made me more hungry for football and showed me exactly how much I love the game. So.
Well, we have to love what you do, and if you show the passion for what you do, somebody will eventually pay you for it. It may be a theme here on the show. It's something I believe in. I really believe in that, because you're able to show that when you were playing in JUCO. You've been able to show that in San Antonio with the Road Runners, and I think that has performed or translated well into the impact you're going to place after your college career is over with, who's been by far the biggest impact for you from a mentality standpoint, an emotional standpoint, that makes you possibly one of the biggest draft picks in the 2018 NFL draft?
Well, I'm not going to be content with just playing in the NFL. You know, I want to ever do it. After I keep going every day, I love the game of football. I can sit there and watch football for hours. It's something that I do regularly. You know, while I was here, you know, I was watching the Senior Bowl, watching all those kind of things. I eat, breathe, and sleep football. And, you know, that's my life. It's been my life for a long period of time. And just my mentality on the field, I don't think anybody's better than me. You know, I talk to give receivers heads. I watch film, watch their tendencies, what they like to do, and I just diagnose the game of football. And my IQ, I feel like, is on another level. Those things is what's going to show up in the NFL, and it's going to separate me from the rest of the guys right now.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I think it already has. And I think a lot of teams are starting to take notice of that. And that's exactly what you want, is to put yourself in a position where people are taking notice for what they see. And it goes beyond the athleticism. It goes beyond the ability to be the disruptor. It goes beyond just the normalcies that we really experience as being and considering somebody to get to the next level. It's about who they are as an individual. You're talking about IQ. IQ is huge. It's probably one of the biggest things that we can have. We can ascertain that to different in our life. But more importantly, if you have passion for something, you're going to set your IQ and everything that you have as a part of who you are to do the best at what you do. So with that, who is your biggest fan? And have they been an impact in your life collegiately, personally, and professionally up to this point?
You know, I would say one thing, but I'm gonna have to go with my mom. You know, my mom was a single parent mom. You know, she kept us all together, all four or five of my brothers and sisters, and she always supported me through anything, even when we didn't have much. She always tried her best, you know, keep us all getting what we want. So, you know, I owe it all to her. You know, she helped me with my mental toughness. She always put us in situations for us to grow. And, you know, that's all I could really ask for.
Sounds like a winner to me. It sounds like a winner to me. Last but not least, you stated you're from Stockton, which I had noticed, and you're a California native. I'm also a California native. And how was it? I mean, how was it playing for? Did you have friends there? Were there family there, or you just made a cold decision to say, you know what, I'm going to go play for the UTSA Roadrunners in San Antonio?
It was more Coach Frank Wilson recruited guys like Tyrann Mathieu, Odell Beckham, Patrick Peterson, Leonard Fournette, and he treated me like, you know, his own son. So it was more on a loyalty thing. He left LSU and became the head coach there. He was recruiting me at LSU, as everybody know. I had, you know, every offer in the country, and everything is about loyalty. You know, with me, I'm a loyal person, and you know, he showed me real loyalty, and he showed me how to be a man and get better in me as a person. You know, I appreciate him for that. Yeah, it's more just a little, you know, obviously we help UTSA on the map more with, you know, me and guys like Marcus Davenport. That's and guys like that, so that's always good.
Yeah, that, you know, it always helps to know that the people that have the biggest impact on you professionally and personally are one and the same. Coaches, parents, sometimes parents are coaches as well. A lot of times they're coached, especially in that type of system. And it's really, sometimes it's hard to adapt. You leave an area where you have tons of family, and I know where Stockton, California is. I used to live in the Bay Area, so I know where Stockton is. It's not a whole lot coming out of Stockton. I'm just throwing that out there, not to put any shade on them or anything. Yeah, but there's not a lot coming out of Stockton. To be honest with you, unless there are people being taken off to jail. But I mean, did you find it hard to adapt in that environment? And did you feel as though you had an uphill battle with it, or did your coach really help you kind of ease into the entire process?
That environment ain't always the best, you know. Get highest murder rates, all that kind of stuff. But that environment makes the kind of football player I am today, you know. It shows aggression, it shows all that stuff, and it also humbles me too, just to see those kids, you know, living in shelters, just bombs everywhere, all that kind of stuff. It's just a humbling experience at the same time. So it's a win and a loss. I just felt like either way it goes, it's kind of a win and a loss, but it's also a win. I just think being in that environment, it helped me become the football player I am, and you know, as the more I get close, I want to get back to my city, just like Brandon Cooks, just like Tremaine Johnson, just like Lavelle Hawkins, guys that have made it out, who made it clear to me that I can make it out. So that's just what I want to do. But I want to help us become a better place at the same time.
Man, your heart's in the right place. Your heart's in the right place. Your personality's in the right place. Your IQ is certainly in the right place. And I think the NFL will be the right place for you to expand on, for you to learn more, to learn from other professionals how to and how to not do certain things on the field as well as off the field. I don't think you're going to have a challenge in the NFL. As a matter of fact, I believe once you get into the NFL that you're going to find that these teams, whoever it is that drafts you, is going to find probably one of the biggest gems in the draft.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you can go back and watch Texas A&M film against Josh Room. Middle Tennessee, UA, whatever game, UTSA, any game, and see that, you know, I made a lot of plays against NFL guys, but, you know, on the biggest stages, that's where, you know, I play the best. So just to keep showing that, and, you know, I can't wait to be on the stage with guys like Antonio Brown and Julio Jones and line up against them every week and show why, you know, so dominant and talented.
Well, I can tell you this much. You're definitely going to have your hands full with all of those guys you just mentioned because they're all great. They're all great. But that way you can show what things you need to work on, what things that you're already good at, and to really put to be a solid professional in the NFL. And more importantly, I don't think that any team is going to not only give you an opportunity, but let you just run full reign and give you all of the tools, everything you need in order to excel. Devron, thank you so much for joining me here on the show today. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you nothing but the absolute best in the 2018 NFL Draft. I think you're going to be a star, and it's just a matter of time before you don the stage, and hopefully I can hear your name being called.
Appreciate it. God bless and take care. Thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Devron, SA, University of Texas, San Antonio. He's a road runner. He's going to see a road near him on a red carpet in the 2018 NFL Draft. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to have this load on the RudeDogShow.com. Make sure you follow at Rudy Reyes on Twitter, and I'll have it posted on LinkedIn, Google, my fan page on Facebook. Throw me a like. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyway, this is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.
Come back in a sec, kids. About to pop off. Reyes versus Booth.